nice thing about a dirt hole set is you don't have to be really careful about trying to camouflage what you're doing, because the whole idea with the set is it's going to be messy and dirty, right? This soil is absolutely terrible for this. Like where I normally set these under spruce trees, because it doesn't matter, you can always dig a hole. So for the sake of the demonstration, we're not going to do too deep of a hole, but when I'm actually making the set, I always make the hole as deep as I can possibly get it. The deeper the hole, the more they have to work the set to get whatever your attractor is. And the longer they work the set, the more likely you are to actually catch it. There's lots of variations with this. Like I need some of this dirt for what I'm doing, but that's the only reason I keep digging it. But there's lots of variations with the hole size. Like sometimes I'll dig quite a large hole, like even that big, and I'll try and dig it down really, really deep. Like I actually take a shovel and dig a hole down there and throw a great big chunk of bait down in there. Right? And sometimes I'll do just a tiny little hole and switch it up like that, so they're not always looking at the same exact thing every single time, right? You don't want them to, every time they come up and see something like that, go, hey, I remember that the last time we did that, Steve got killed, right? So, with a wolf, the next thing that's the most important with any kind of foot holding, doesn't matter what it is, right? I'll kick all this stuff right out there. And what this is doing too is kind of a visual attractor when they see that, because you can have this kicked out on the snow and they can see that from a long ways away. It's going to get their curiosity up as to what was kicking out on there, and they'll come up to it. So like with a, doesn't matter if you're going after a coyote or a fox or a wolf or whatever else, if you're doing a dirt hole, the most important part is the trap placement from the distance of the hole. So the rough rule of thumb I use for a fox, I'm going after them, I go from the edge of the hole to the center of the pan is 6 inches. For a coyote I go 9 inches. For a wolf I go 12 inches. Right? And that varies depending on the angle of the hole and everything else, but roughly that's where I go. What you have to do when you're doing any kind of set, you should do it, but especially with footholds, is you want to look at that set and envision what that animal is actually going to be doing when it's looking at that hole, and think, okay, where is he going to be going if he's looking down it, and look at it from the way that the animal is going to look at that set. Right? So if you're like this hole here, right, it's almost a straight up and down hole, so you know that wolf is going to be looking almost straight down, and his feet are going to be a lot closer than if it was at a real shallow angle. So think about that. But like I said, the general rule of thumb I use is about 12 inches, right? So the pan should be right about in there. Here's where his head's looking here, right, and his feet are going, that's about where it'll be. So you can bed these, like this one here, we don't have a whole lot of snow to deal with. We're still going to bed it sort of into the dirt. If you're dealing with lots of snow, you can bed it just right into the snow, and that's just as easy. The only thing I do differently if I'm bedding it into the snow as opposed to into the dirt is I'll put down wax paper underneath the trap and a layer of wax paper over top of the trap. That's just to keep it from freezing down. Other than that, it's exactly the same. And like I said, with the dirt hole, you can kick all this dirt and stuff all over the place. You don't have to try and keep anything neat and tidy. It doesn't matter. And that's why I really, really like this set. It's just because, especially in the winter, it's so hard to try and hide what you're doing. Right? With this set, it doesn't matter. So, so with this guy here, I always like putting that piece of foam sponge under the pan, right? Just to make sure that nothing gets underneath there. And with these guys, I always make sure I got lots of swivels, real good shock spring on there. So there's a swivel here, right? There's another swivel here, right? So he's got lots and lots of movement. Right in the first 1.5 feet of that chain, he's got 3 swivels, right? So it doesn't matter which way he turns, that trap's going with him. And this real good heavy duty shock spring, right? If he hits that, that's going to take a lot of that jarring out of the trap. It'll eliminate, if you get a higher up paw catch, or sorry, like a lower down paw catch, like a toe catch, having that shock spring a lot of times will keep them in that trap. they're not going to be able to just pull their toes out, because that'll take a lot of that real sharp jar at the end of it. So this trap here, this is a dogless trap, this particular model. I really like that for my wolf traps. And you can put the trap, some guys put it this way, some guys put it this way. Frankly, I haven't noticed a difference one way or the other. I've tried both. I catch the same amount of animals one way or the other. I think it's personal preference. Usually I set it like this. That's just the way that I do it, mostly out of habit. I know Gary Godberson does it the other way. I know me and him have had lots and lots of arguments about that. I know when me and him are going out coyote trapping together, we seem to catch the same amount of coyotes. So I don't know if it makes a real big difference that way. Biggest thing here with any kind of foothold is you have to make sure that trap is bedded solid. So you can see this trap, when it's set here, it's wobbly. If I push on this jaw, it wiggles, right? It's pretty good left to right. But back and forth, you don't want that trap to move, because if that wolf comes up and steps on that trap and feels this under his feet, he's going to be gone. Right? So that trap has to be absolutely rock solid. So that's where a lot of this dirt and stuff that I've dug up, that's where I'll put that underneath here, right? And just try and take a lot of that movement out of those jaws, so that it doesn't matter where that animal steps, he ain't going to feel nothing until that trap actually fires. And this little stick I've got busted off right here, I'm going to leave that there, because that's almost like a little stepping guy. When he comes up, he's not going to step right on that. That's going to push his foot right over top of that and right onto the pan, right where I want it to be. So it's just a natural little thing that's occurring there that's going to help that out. So this trap is looking pretty good. The nice thing about these wolf traps too that we use nowadays, they're quite a powerful trap, and you don't usually have to worry about them freezing down too badly unless you're really going crazy with it. So at this point, take a lot of this dirt. I always paint my wolf traps white, right? Just to try and blend them in with the snow a little bit. Dig a little bit more out of this.
You just paint them, AJ, or use that white speed dip?
I literally use Tremclad from Walmart. Yeah. Just like that. Now I usually kick this out a little bit if I got my cut line wherever my skidoo trail is. Kick a little bit of a trail out for them. And what I'm doing footholds, what I use a lot of is snowshoes. Right? I don't know what it is, wolves seem a lot more eager to walk on a snowshoe path than just a walking trail. So a lot of times I'll use my snowshoes, I'll just flatten this out a little bit like that to my skidoo trail and just give them a nice little way to get to there. And with my chain, at this point, there's a couple things you can do. Like you can either wrap it around, for example, this tree. And when you do this, if you're going to anchor solidly to a tree, make sure you give it really loose like this, because you want that to be able to go all the way around the tree. You don't want it to jam up. So you don't want to get this, suck this up tight. Right? You want that wolf to have a free range of movement around wherever he goes. Right? More often than not, if I'm doing this, I'll anchor it to a drag. And this is my demo drag. This is absolutely not what I would use for a real drag. Right? Yeah, my actual drags are about 12 feet long, and they're about 6 inches diameter, and they're green, usually spruce, right? Just because we've got lots of spruce. Right? And I'll do something like that just because the whole idea with the drag for me isn't so much that he runs off somewhere and gets tangled. It's just I have nowhere to anchor to. I don't actually want him to go anywhere. I still want him to be right where I'm at. And having a great big drag like that, and what I'll do a lot of times is I'll already jam that drag into the trees. So it's already jammed up right there. But rather than relying on him going somewhere and getting it. Right? And also when you're attaching to a drag, you don't want to attach right dead center in the drag. Right? You always want to go at about the 2/3 mark like that. The reason for that, if you anchor it dead center, if he did get away somewhere and he starts running, this is going to be dragging behind him. Every time this hits a tree, it's just going to go like this, and like this. He's going to skip along like that. If you anchor it at the 2/3 mark, it drags like this, and every time a tree goes in here, it's going to actually jam up there and he's going to hold him there. As opposed to just acting like this every time it hits something, it's just going to pendulum one way or the other, and he'll skip a long ways like this. So you always want to go at least the 2/3 mark, and if you're going to do that, right, always make sure to wrap around twice like this, and you want this to be very, very tight. And a lot of times I'll even put a fencing staple right in there too, or two of them, to make sure that ain't going anywhere. And then this, at that point, this is where I was actually setting this, right, I would probably take this drag, and I would jam it in here like this, and that's where I would attach my chain.